Corufell. Many will probably remember the old days where Corufell used to be bugged in a good way. The projectile of Corufell used to be able to gain 4 combo by itself per enemy hit after a distance, precisely where the shooting animation ends. With some heavy attack efficiency mods, you are able to make insane use of it, keeping the combo at 10 to 12x and allows the damage of it to be extremely insane and allows mods like Whipping Wounds to be utilized very well. While this is inevitably fixed, it still doesn't change the fact that Corufell, when properly given some amplification from other sources, can be powerful as well, though not to the extent of its glory days. I play a lot with the weapon itself even before the making of this channel, but I never had the intent to make a video on it after the beginning of this channel. I do briefly mention the weapon itself in my Rage Rhino showcase video, but this setup was brief, good but not my favorite ones. This used to be the case, but sometimes I do need to make one. It suggests to me that the commenter is really passionate about the weapon itself. 3 ribbons for a weapon? Whoa, that's my levels of dedication on Paris Prime. And really want someone like me to cover it with a video. Or should I say, specifically ask for me to cover the weapon because of my way of approaching things. All I can say is that I am very grateful for the praise here. Let's begin, shall we? Since its heavy attack projectile is the protagonist today, everything else will be skipped entirely. Its projectile has a base 600 damage with hit being 100% of it, has 26% base crit chance, 2.4x crit damage, and a status chance of 14%. It travels at a speed of 45 meters per second and falls off linearly, up to 50% total damage left at 30 meters, and no damage cut within the first 15 meters travel. The projectile itself is deceptively wide. It is assumed to be around 5 meters wide after some testing from me and has an innate infinite body punch-through on its projectile. And you can shoot twice per heavy attack. If you fire the second shot immediately after the first, it will only consume the combo after the second shot was done. With the basics covered, let's talk about the phenomenon that the comment mentioned. It was stated that Corufell has odd damage multiplication and some things doesn't make sense for him, but he knows that it pairs extremely well with Rhino and other sources of raw damage. There's a reason why. Condition Overload is a mod that allows weapon to gain base damage per status. Typically, it should be mostly fine due to no weird projectile shenanigans with other similar mods like Galvanized Aptitude or Gun Seal. But this wasn't the case when melee weapons had projectiles. If said projectile was hit scan, it works as intended. If not, there's a chance that said projectile will have something called multi-CO. Multi-CO is a term used for weapons that has unintentional synergy with CO. Instead of the normal base damage increase, it becomes a separate multiplier. That's it. And Corufell's projectile is in fact multi-CO. Now you know why it is so weird. Now, my approach to the weapon. There are 4 different types of Corufell build for today. Each has a different approach and accompanied by a few different warframe setups required. I will specifically mention what kind of Rhino builds are suitable for the build. Do take note of it. While I can argue that nah, why not Melee Crescendo? Free 12x combo, you are trolling. But yes, strong, but insanely overrated. Building up the combo takes time, and weapons that can make great use of it like Corufell are awful for finisher builds. Even if Rhino is capable of doing finishers all by himself without vassering, the amount of time you need to maximize its potential by doing finishers painstakingly and not killing at all is easily minutes. and using Vaseline is not fixing it as well because finisher damage is subjected to Melee's follow-through. Certified big damage with little practicality, I would say. Even if you're done setting it up, people tend to forget that combo recharge is a thing after you consume set combo. If you want that sweet 12x combo, it will take you time to recharge to that point. How long, you may ask? Fun fact, you recharge 40 combo per second. If you do some math, it takes 5.5 seconds to reach 220. All this effort on finisher stacking just to use it per 5.5 seconds. Does this sound practical to you? Unless you are utilizing two heavy attack efficiency mods to cut the regen timer down to 0.53 seconds at 12x and you want to play a server mission for a very long time, which already cuts down your damage potential and modding versatility, but still, it's fine because your damage is pretty high. It is not really recommended if you just want to have fun. Anyways, before we get into the real deal, let's have some build suggestions for Rhino first. Generally, all you need to make sure is that you have Arcane Fury, the typical mode augmented, and the respective subsume replacing is one. Glowing Power, Power Drift or Cunning Drift or Preparation, Transient Fortitude, Umbral Intensify, Prime Continuity, Prime Flow, Piercing Roar and Reinforcing Storm, and Stretch. Last one is up to you. If the build requires one more augment, add in or replace Piercing Roar for it. Energy wise, either you choose Equilibrium or 2 Amber Tile Shards for energy orb effectiveness, which is up to you. If you use Amber Shards for energy, put Augur Secrets in that empty slot. Shards wise, 1 Amber Tile casting speed shard is advised. The rest is up to personal preference. Either go all strength or mix in some Amber Tile for energy economy or something you desire to go. Focus school wise, Motherite as always for 50% more casting speed and 40% more strength. The suggestion I gave just now should provide all you need. But why 2 augments on Rhino? Piercing Roar allows 1 to 2 status, which is just great for Corufell. Enemies deal 80% less damage to you and has a plus 25% flat quick chance increase when you hit them. Reinforcing Storm is Reinforcing Storm. You can just replenish your skin HP to max like nothing. Sentinel wise, Death Cube for further boost in energy via Energy Generator, Mystic Bond plus Manifold Bond plus Vaporize combo, and Sin Deconstruct if you decide to go with Equilibrium. I also add in Tenacious Bond and gain a flat 1.2x critical damage by using Food Clock modded with Gas Magnetic to allow AoE and hit more enemies. And yeah, that's all for the setup. How about Corufell? The first will utilize melee duplicate to my advantage. 1 crit chance and 1 crit mod because crit weapon, 2 60/60s for blast, corrupt charge for initial combo, or you could choose to put Ready Steel on Rhino if you had Aura Forma your Rhino before. Melee Elementalist because Blast has DOT, and lastly, Cognition Overload for the aforementioned multi-seal property. The last slot is up to you. You could choose which Riven will be on Corufell today or go with either Killing Blow or another 60/60 mod the build needs it, which will happen in the builds later. And I will be pairing this up with Tempest Barrage. But why Tempest Barrage? I do explain it before in this video before, but in short, Tempest Barrage gives Viral with its augment and corrosive status, which is proven to be extremely beneficial against Grineer. All you need is just cast Tempest at a spot to find your enemies and shoot your Corufell. With this amount of damage amplification by Roar and Tempest Barrage, barely anyone can survive the first shot. If you don't want to use Tempest Barrage due to its constant stagger, high casting amount and line of sight, Rage along with its augment is a worthy candidate. It speeds up the enemy a lot along with damage vulnerability, and you can spread its effect with its augment as well, reduce the amount of casting needed for it. While it is not as potent as Tempest Barrage in damage amplification, but it allows the enemy to move faster towards you with no awkward interruption of the enemy flow by placing Tempest Barrage at the choke points, which is extremely beneficial as well. With another approach, I choose to mod 3 60/60s for Magnetic Toxin. Instead of Melee Duplicate, I go with Melee Vortex. Melee Vortex allows enemies that dies with magnetic status to have a 45% chance to suck in enemies within 18 meters. That's why Magnetic is modded. But why Toxin? Due to the fact that Corufell's projectile is pure heat, it allows magnetic gas instead of magnetic toxin. Thus the reason of modding Toxin. Both these two together synergize extremely well due to the existence of Melee Vortex. Enemies pulled in and gas really likes clumped up enemies, making the build quite potent despite the innately low status chance of Corufell. Tempest Barrage, Rest and Rage goes really well with it like always. But this time, you could choose to go Rifle Advance with it as well, replacing Quick Chance with other things that is needed for the build. Personally, this is my favorite one. It drags in enemy pretty well and gas will generally do the rest if the enemy didn't die by the first hit or two. Guess I will just leave you the showcase of each aforementioned setup. See you later.
Discovery. Keep up the game. We will all share in this bounty. Hold out as long as you can. Keep up the good work. They could not do this without you.
Oh well, this one will mod for 2 60/60 for gas, but arcane wise, Melee Influence. I know, that same thing again. But Rhino is just genuinely broken with Melee Influence, so I guess I had to make one. By the way, there's this little mod called Prologue Snap, which gives you plus 100 toxin damage along with 50% status chance after wall latching for 2 seconds. Seems okay, right? What many didn't know is that the stated 50% status chance is a flat bonus. This means that you can replace the Toxin 60/60 mod with this. Pairing this up with Shock Trooper, now you can actually proc Melee Influence. This can also be done as well with the 60/60 Toxin mod route, though I find Proton Snap to be a little bit too annoying to maintain, so I just go with Toxin 60/60 mod instead, keeping the status chance at 30.8% at all times. But if you don't care that much, you can try it yourself too. Despite its low status rate, because you are playing Rhino, 1 DOT status is enough to murder all enemies around 20 meters of it, just to show you how genuinely f***ed up Melee Influence Rhino truly is once again. But do keep in mind that the rate of Melee Influence getting triggered is pretty low as well because of it. But it is made up by guaranteed 20 meters one-shot radius, I guess. Like the first build, but instead of blast, I choose to go with gas. This build is less buff reliant, but if you wish to get yourself a grouping ability from Helminth, this is generally the approach I recommend. Either pull or airburst will work, both have their ups and downs you need to consider before using it yourself. As always, gas syncs well with clumped up enemies like always, and there's really not much for me to add in after many different approaches. Rhino build wise, the same 2 augment of Rhino will do. As always, I will just leave the showcase to you. And yeah, that's basically everything in the video. There are many more ways, but the video will be way too long if I wish to cover all of them. Feel free to experiment with the other conventional or non-conventional substring choices on Rhino and evaluate yourself on whether it is good or not. See you all next time. Goodbye.